this, we're taking 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 with a pinch of salt.
Dear listeners, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to A Pinch of Salt, a new podcast by the ERA. My name is Andrés Kubernet and I'm your host for this podcast. We're recording this at the ERA Congress in lovely Stockholm on May 24th, 2024. With us today is Orsolya Cseprekál. Orsolya is from Hungary, working at the Semmelweis University, and she's currently the chair of the YNP, the Young Nephrologists Platform, and YNP will be the topic of our podcast today. Orsolya, welcome to A Pinch of Salt.
Welcome. First of all, I will start by saying hello and welcome to everyone, and say also a great thank you all who are listening to this podcast today. Andre, thank you for inviting me to this interview. So I'm always quite embarrassed in front of the public, so it might be weird, but believe me that not only a professional career and networking, which being a member of YNP is good for, but also for reaching personal development and improving our self-management, actually. So I believe once I will get there.
Don't worry, Orsolya, we're all weird. We like weird. Weird is normal.
So just for answering your question, in 2013, Professor Viacek came up with the idea of establishing a platform for young nephrologists within the European Renal Association. Mm-hmm. Therefore, it is like 10 years back when the first committee for the youngest nephrologists was given space. Since then, we have been aware of its importance even more. So, like answering to your question, I do think that there is a definite need of a platform for the next generation that introduce them all to the professional leaders and make them directly available to educational platforms on the hottest topics and let them build network and create collaborations. And once, if they desire, join to the ERA YNP board. YNP provide a friendly background and an environment to all who are interested and dedicated to qualify themselves and to be even better in their vocation.
Yeah. So I guess probably the obvious reason ERA needs a YNP or any other big association is that the needs of younger nephrologists are different than the needs of the older nephrologists, right? At least the educational needs or anything. So it's probably your task to provide that perspective of a young nephrologist when the program is made. Am I right? Do you collaborate with that, the YNP?
Yes, so everything is changing and everything has changed during the last 10, 15 years. So I must say that if I just emphasize that what efforts made by the European Renal Association in the last 10 years, let's say that ERA and other international societies did a lot to improve the nephrology care just for becoming more efficient in preventing the end-stage kidney disease worldwide. Mm-hmm. I mean, as CKD is becoming one of the most frequent causes of all-cause mortality by 2030, it is essential to have more and more colleagues joining to our community. The first and the most important target should then be the youngest generation whose duties are essential and has been clearly revealed in front of us by now. Mm. So yes, you're right.
And according to the ERA regulations, all ERA members that are 40 years old or younger are actually automatically YNP members. Is that right? I mean, you don't need to really apply, send an application to be a YNP member. Is that correct?
Yes, it's automatic.
So, but how do you become an active YNP member? How do you really join the community, not just on paper, but by doing things and being part of it?
Yeah, thank you for asking. I mean, I was really pondering a lot how to make the Young Nephrologists Platform more attractive to the youngest generation. And thus, during the last 10 years, the recent chairs and board members of Young Nephrologists Platform were working hard to create a structured program for the YNP. Mm-hmm. By the time I entered to the board in 2020, most of the pillars were created. Later, when I was elected as a chair-elect, let's say, during the presidency of Amaryllis von Kranenburg, the past chair of the YNP, we pursued to found the main program of our community. So here I want to emphasize that most of our members are clinicians. So although we want to focus on all young colleagues, and our program provides a broad spectrum of options for both researchers and clinicians, I would define three main pillars around which we organized and we are organizing our program. So I believe that we all need to be aware of those pillars to be defined in our life as medical doctors. So clinical work, research, and education.
Yeah.
So that's the three. These are the three pillars. So when I continued the term as a chair, the most important program were awaited to be optimized. Those were the mentorship program, which was relaunched in 2023, the speakers database for supporting early career plans, the in-context papers in CKJ NDT editorial fellowship programs. We were organizing joint meetings with international societies. Let me just mention the joint meeting of the ERA YNP and the ESPN, so the European Society of Pediatric Nephrology, YPNN, which were organized like 3 times by now. And let me just mention the joint meeting of the ERA and the Japanese Society of Nephrology. And lastly, to cooperating with ERA bodies. And we are involving the national representatives into this task, just to help them distributing their research findings, sharing their scientific materials, and make them easily available for others.
Yeah.
Most importantly, our professional career is based on those 3 pillars, and the networking proposes a new narrative for these 3 pillars, which we have in our personal and career life as well. But when we are joining to the YNP, and when you all are becoming a member of YNP, you can just put your own personal career into a new narrative.
Okay, but how do you, so the mentorship program, the things you mentioned, these are things that you need to apply to, right? This is not automatic. So you're a YNP member automatic, but these programs that you can be part of as a YNP member, these are not automatic, right? So how do you apply to these? Where do you find the
via the direct communications? When, for example, if your national society have a national representative, then all the young nephrologists in the certain societies are getting a little bit closer to the European Renal Association and the community of YNP, and that's what we believe to be a very good,
like an intermediate between
yes, let's say, thank you.
Association. Yeah.
Okay. And you know, once a community embrace you as a kind of career beginner, let's say, you become an organic part of it. And that is how being a member of YNP can ameliorate your or our self-education skills, just to improve ourselves. And that is how to become better physicians, better teachers, and better researchers, whilst being humans after all. So I mean, yes, this process leads us to be able to define our objective goals, and that's how we can just launch our own career by joining to the YNP.
So I guess if you're being exposed to other people of your own age in the similar field will make you probably realize easier what you want to do in the future, in a way, I guess. So the website is probably the place to find these initiatives where you can join, right? The YNP platform, part of the webpage. But I guess the most active YNP members are obviously the board members, I would assume. So how do you become a national representative? Maybe that's one question, because obviously they seem to be important. They're the communicating link between YNP and the nephrologists of that nation. And how do you become a YNP board member if you want to be one?
Okay, first, let me just add one more thing to your previous question, and
Okay.
after that I'll come back with the answers to the last one, to your latter question. So I would add a small thing that the European Renal Association, I guess, that has outgrown its original idea of creating a simple platform for the young nephrologists. And this is the point when YNP has become by today. So it's a kind of safe, supportive, and motivating environment for an infinite progression. It is much more like a professional family, let's say. So quite large one after all.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Quite a force.
yeah. So the number of our members, so the number of YNP members exceeds 4,700 active, so full members so far in 2023.
Okay.
So the era YNP is not only a simple platform anymore, I guess, but also a gate toward a much more precious opportunity provided by the era. I believe that we, the board, should put even more focus on encouraging our contemporaries by forging us to a real community that's supposed to be more attractive for those we are followed by. Actually, that's the case. So how to become national representatives and board members requires that it's easy peasy.
Okay.
Which means that we are actually altogether 9 on board at the same time, and each of us from different kind of the application. A cyclic replacement of the board members after finishing their terms, which lasts 2 years. The only thing is to do is to follow the YNP newsletters and apply for a board member position in case of a vacancy.
Yeah. So when the emailing comes out that there's a new position at the YNP, I guess. Right?
Yes. Yes. And there is an application form to fill in with a short motivation letter, and you should provide a CV and a publication sheet, actually, which letter should include an ERA abstract from the last couple of years.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, and the active board members are voting anonymously for the applicants, and finally the ERA Council will support the final decision of the YNP board. So the application form is available on our website. We warmly welcome everyone, really.
Do you get a lot of applications when there's an opening position? Is it do many people apply? How does that look?
So if, for example, this year we had 1 vacancy and approximately 6 or 7 applicants. So so I mean it's like it is becoming more and more popular.
Yeah,
let's say,
which is good.
Definitely. That's a good sign. Yeah.
So, as the chair of the YNP, what would your advice be to our younger colleagues, if you would give one piece of advice on how to be, let's say, a successful young nephrologist, whatever that means? It can mean different things, but what would your advice be?
Sometimes the more effort we make, the more reward we're supposed to get.
Yeah.
Is that right?
That's the idea. That's the plan.
That's always happened like this. So it's a good question to pose, right? So if anyone asks this question themselves during their professional life and want to optimize their balance between the personal life, family, and work, or rather vocation, I would say to come and be a part of YNP board for just a term or go even further. Improvement in career, networking, new concepts, research possibilities are guaranteed, I guess. Being a part of this community will bring everyone a net benefit. I believe even if most of us are struggling with enormous clinical burden and quite a few times we have left to do research or social activities, Let me just cite Seneca here, who is one of my favorite philosophers from, who always gives simple and logic advices in the most unattended situations. And it sounds like difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. As is a tale, so is life. Not how long it is, but how good it is what matters. Therefore, if one inquiring about his or her own profession deeply and really eager to join our community, come and share your ideas, and let's learn from each other, and let's shape the future together.
That's great. That's great. Be an active YNP member.
Yeah.
That's the best way to be. And now the last, I would say, getting to know you question, which is oftentimes actually the most difficult one, or the one people struggle with, because it is a difficult one to choose just a couple of things. But so the question is, if you were stranded on a desert island, which book, 2 songs, and the luxury item would you hope to have with you?
So, a personal question.
Yeah.
At the end. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, so simple. Might I even know how long I have to stay there?
That's a good question. Let's say it's quite some time.
I'm just kidding.
Let's say it's a long time. Let's say it's a long, boring time.
Yeah, okay. Well, the song would be Biscaya from James Last for me. That's my favorite.
You could actually
song.
pick 2 songs. We
Okay,
decided to pick 2 songs.
well, I prefer, instead of the second song, I prefer to choose a safety heating foil.
Okay.
Okay, so
second luxury item.
Yeah.
Okay, that's smart.
Yeah, and for the luxury item, when you proposed, I would take my Swiss knife, I guess. That's but depending on the place, I have to go. So cold or hot. It's if it's a desert island, then
that's usually hot.
Yeah, okay. Let's say it's usually hard. If it is not next to Greenland or
exactly,
something,
which
then
can
it's
also
okay.
be desert anyway.
Finally, I guess that I would take. So let's see the books. So I would take maybe Bible or Bhagavad Gita, the most prominent ancient text.
Okay.
Because I haven't even had enough time to read them.
You'll have time there.
But I'm pretty interested in it.
For sure. Okay, Orsolya, thank you very much for joining our podcast, for being the YNP chair, for doing the work that you do. This is all voluntary work, and as we know, work is work. So this has been another podcast episode of the ERA podcast series, A Pinch of Salt. Dear listeners, thank you for joining us, and we hope you check out our future podcasts as well. Goodbye from Stockholm.
Thank you very much for the invitation, and goodbye.
Thank you.